Hi there, I'm Don, DE3 DSR. I'm a fairly new ham, but I'm an old maker from many years of making things. And what I'm going to share today is how 3D printing may or may not interest you as an amateur radio operator. 3D printing started back in the 80s when they wanted to make a machine that would duplicate itself. And there's an old joke about, I'm going to buy a 3D printer, use it to make a 3D printer, and then return the original. And that's not too far from the truth because many of the parts are 3D printed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of turn, you're going to have to forgive the side of my head, but I'm going to actually show you a printer running. Now, before I start it, I will just give you a rough rundown. This is the filament. This is what the printer uses. And I'm just going to slide this in a little. Doesn't solve very well. The filament, and this particular filament is a plastic called PLA. It's a corn-based vegetable product. It comes down through, it goes through a heated drive motor, and comes down on a heated bed where it sticks. And what this does is it's just like a glue gun on steroids, or if you've ever been to a banquet hall and they had a do-it-yourself soft ice cream machine, and you move the cone around as the ice cream comes out, the computer moves this around to create whatever it is you want to make. It comes out of a extruder, which is this is just a large 3D printed model, and it comes out. The head goes back and forth, the table goes back and forth. So we've got X, Y, and then it cranks up as Z. So I can put this on to resume print. It will take a minute to come up to temperature. The head runs at about 200 degrees. The bed, which is the flat part, runs at about 60 degrees. There are many different kinds of machines. They run anywhere from, you can probably get a machine for $300 to $1,500. I had the $300 machine and it worked fine. I learned a lot, but then I learned that I did not want to be playing with machines. I wanted to be making things and designing things. It's not perfect. It's like ham. Sometimes the bands are with you and the universe is fine, and other days you don't. Some mornings you get up and this is your reward. It's what we call breakfast spaghetti, because the machine goes a little wonky. But if you can set up a ham shack, you can certainly learn to run one of these printers. There are a million resources between YouTube and the internet. Facebook, there's a group on, an actual group on 3D printing for amateur radio. And you'll see people in their different products on there quite easily. So this is almost up to temperature, and it will start off just to give you an idea of how fast it goes and what it looks like. People wonder about the safety. You can see up on the wall up here, I have a smoke detector, and I have it's called a fireball extinguisher. In the very remote chance that there's a fire, first off, I'll get the smoke alarm. Secondly, that orange ball will explode. It'll fill my office with white powder, but it'll put the fire out. Never heard of a fire. There have been the odd ones, but I quite comfortably go to bed and let it print all night, because many prints can be 25, 35 hours. There are people who print for 4 and 5 days. Most things that I'm going to show you here later have all been printed within a few minutes to a couple of hours. So you can now see the print head going back and forth, and it's laying down microscopic fraction of a millimeter layers of the plastic. And this will just continue to build up. If you look on YouTube, you'll see an awful lot of videos, time-lapse videos, which can be done that show the printer in progress. I also have over here mounted on my other room light a remote camera that moves and turns by Weiss, and I can be out somewhere and I can have a look and make sure that everything is printing correctly. The one time I had a problem, my wife was home and she went in and fixed it. But I also have remote outlets that if I wanted to, I can use my phone and disconnect and shut off the power and freeze it. Not a lot of tools involved. You need a pair of clippers and a scraper, and away you go. So the other question: what can I make as an amateur radio enthusiast? I'm going to show you the big things first. This is my fox hunt antenna. It's PVC pipe, obviously the standard tape measure, but all of these connections are 3D printed, including the handle, and the handle has a hook for my handy talkie. I can clip on an attenuator. It's been quite handy. I used it recently quite successfully, so I was quite happy with that. If you want to reach up and I'm going to stop this printer now because it's just making a little bit of noise. I don't want it to distract from my demo. So I can pause it. One of the things you'll see later, you'll see some products that are in 2 colors. And that's because I do a couple layers in one color, and then I remove the filament, put in another color of filament, and continue on. There are as many colors of filaments as there are colors. There are also different types of filament depending on what you want to do. I'm using PLA, which is a very simple, inexpensive product. You can also get ABS. You can also get carbon fiber. You'll read and see more and more in the news every day about 3D printing. There's 3D printing houses, there's 3D printing boats. They're actually 3D printing body parts. They can give you print a cartilage, and your other body parts will grow around it. It's truly amazing. It's a big part of the studies for international space travel, because if we're going to Mars or the moon, we can't take stuff with us. We heard an interesting article where they're actually using bacteria to break down rock. They take the rock, they mix it with a bit of plastic, and they can run it through a 3D printer and print things. It's an amazing. This second unit is a much smaller unit, and it's a good starter unit for a beginner. These are both Pruses, and I really like the product because it runs well. And the big thing is I have 24-hour support. I can go online and type in what my problem is, and somebody over in Czechoslovakia will respond to me day or night. So that's really excellent. So we're going to move along a little bit over here. I'll just bring the camera around. And I'm just going to show you some of the things that I've made. Some of them are finished, some of them aren't, but it'll give you an idea. Radios. This is an actual transmitter. It's not quite finished, but it's not an original design. This is another fellow that's designed this, and it works. It uses one tube, and you make your own coils. I still need a couple of other parts, but you can actually make a radio, which I thought was pretty good. There are several different kinds of CW keys. This one they call a Scooty key. I'm not sure why. But it's quite sturdy. You have to buy the metal parts, and it uses a piece of a hacksaw blade. Anderson power connectors. If you use those and you want to control them, you can buy the little blocks, but you can 3D print a distribution block to put them in. Speaking of cables, you can make little cable labels that you go on. It just goes on with a cable tie. And while I have this here, this is an SMA connector, and I find them hard for my big hands. So I found these little wheels that you can slip on. Can't pull it off, but you can slip on to the connector to make it far easier to grip. If you want to bundle up your cables, you can actually print little cable clicker cable holders and bundle up your cables and hang them on a loop. Now these things, they're not unbreakable, but they're not going to break very easily at all. Again, it depends on the type of filament, and any color you want is one of the other benefits. Antennas, the old dog bone. Now that is a tougher type of plastic, but why buy them if you can make them? And they use very little. This wouldn't cost me a dime in plastic. A mic holder that clips on your car grill. If you want to make a ladder line, you can print the little pieces. You can even customize them with your name on them if you so wish. Forms for coils are quite easy. Connectors you can use for wired dipoles for the top, and any size for any connector. Here's a small BNC model. I haven't gotten into that part of the antennas yet. I have a small 2-meter, and that's my rig. If you're at a different level, you can also build cases. This is a Pi. I can't think of the name now. The little Pi computers that are used. I bought this one to control my printer, but I see a lot of them, Raspberry Pis, but I see a lot of them being used in different ham rigs. I'm not there yet. You can custom make, this is a desk stand for my handy talkie, and I put a little wire on it for my mic holder, but it fits right in exactly. So depending on your radio, you can find a base, which I find really handy so it doesn't keep falling over. You can also get a plain type of base, just a simple box that will hold the handy talkie. If you've lost a knob, it's going to be hard to show. You can print all kinds of knobs, any color, any size. You may have to adapt the inside, whether it's a friction fit or it's I call it a D drive. But there's all different kinds. There's actually, this is for a Zenith radio. You can print them one color and you can paint them any other color. Any acrylic paint or any plastic spray paint that's good for plastics will work on any of these things as well. If you're into projects, everybody likes projects, you can actually make your own little box, and you can customize it with your call sign, or you can predetermine holes for switches or meters or connectors anywhere on it that you want. I haven't done that yet, but I did the box as a sample. So cost-wise, this might cost $1, but I don't know, and it would take about 4 hours to print. If you have a box and you've broken the grill, you can also print fan grills, any size, any color. I hope that shows up well. And then you get into the ham related, but not exactly the same sort of thing. I wanted a QSL card, so I printed one. I haven't quite finished it yet. Put a label on the back for the details, and I actually have a hole designed in here so you can put a pin in to hang it up, because it's not like cardboard you can put a tack through it. If you want to mail it, you can mail it, and if you want to do a return address, you can actually use a soft filament and make a rubber stamp of your own. So, and I've done a lot of these for my grandchildren. It's kind of neat. It's a softer material. It takes a little getting used to, but you can figure it out. Stencils. You can 3D print a plastic stencil, and I don't know if you can see on there. I've glued in the holes in the V, but put it down on plastic or your equipment bag, your carry cases. quick shot of paint, and you have a painted stencil. I have a friend in England, and he's on Greenwich Mean Time, and I always wanted to keep track. So I had this little clock, and I just thought I would pretty it up. It's just a little dollar store clock, and it fits in a square, but it's kind of interesting. We have 2 hams in the area that are legally blind, visually impaired, and you can actually print Braille, so you can make signs or labels, which I thought was kind of neat. I don't have a need, but I can make them for them, which I think is kind of cool. You get into all of the a sign for your station, a name tag with a magnetic back on it that you can wear to club meetings or events. If you want to do a little Facebook map, I printed up this little Ontario, and I don't know if you can see there. I'm in Peterborough, Ontario, and that's where Peterborough is. So I've had a lot of fun with that as well. Tools for the workshop. You can, these are really popular. I give these away just as people I meet. Just a little pocket knife that uses a utility blade, but is really handy to tuck away in your pocket and super light. This is a gadget for bending the tabs on resistors. You can lay the resistor down and bend the legs if you're putting them onto a circuit board. This was one I did the other day. I've made a couple of these for friends. It's just a little tiny clamp, which gives you sort of a hands-free approach to cables or soldering. I'm also thinking about drilling a hole through here and putting a couple of wires with alligator clips on top of them, so that I'll have extra hands for my extra hands. You can make gifts for other people in the club or friends. It's a little key tag. And again, you can get like shiny silver filament. You can get different colors. I've done some that actually glow in the dark. So it's pretty cool. On the floor. This is one I made up for our club. It's just a little, I don't know what you call it, I guess, showpiece. Decorate your shack. And people always kid me that I'm a bit of a joker, but you can make things like this. And you put that out when you have people over, and they go, "What is that?" And you say, "Well, it's a cordless outlet." Well, how's it get electricity? Well, you have one of these, you plug in the wall, and it gets electricity, and then you watch the face. Anyway, that's because I could design a box to fit this, and this is a night light with a fake antenna stuck on top of it. Conversation piece. So there's probably lots of questions, and we'll have a question period in a moment. But the things I get asked most often, well, where do you get files? Well, some of them I make, or I resize something that already exists. That's the beginning part. There are programs like Tinkercad, which is a very basic 3D program. I recently learned I could take a picture from the internet, take a photograph of it, convert it, and change the format with a conversion program, and then 3D print it to make earrings for a friend who likes foxes. There are many sites. Prusa has a site. The big one is Thingiverse, THINGIVERSE.com. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of things there that you can simply download for free and print. The one step I haven't talked about between downloading and printing is you need to use a program called a slicer, because the file is a standard size, but the printers are all different. They deal with different software. So you need a program that converts the file to work with your machine. If you can build a station, you can work a station, you can 3D print and have a lot of fun. There's a lot of gift ideas for Christmas and birthdays and gadgets that you can also do. Operating costs, aside from the machine, pennies. as I said, like some of these little cases, like for this Raspberry Pi, were maybe a quarter, 30 cents. It depends on the density of the plastic and how much plastic is used. But a spool, a large spool of fabric, like you would see, filament, like you would see here, is about $25. And it goes by weight. There's a kilogram on there, and that will last me for weeks and weeks. Other than that, there's lots of information on YouTube, and we will open it up for questions. I have time some questions, and thank you for your time. And I will wrap it up there.